Okay, yeah, that, All right, today is April 17th, 2013, and today we, the pro-gun community, had a great victory. The universal background check and assault weapons ban and magazine restrictions were all kicked out of the Senate. They did not pass. They lost the votes and didn't have the votes to pass those. And our President Barack Obama, has come and chided the Senate and said, "Oh, how dare you, you cowards. Y'all are, fearful of the gun lobby, the NRA, and we could have done serious things to help prevent any of these mass shootings from ever happening again." And I sat there and listened to him, and I just was like, you're a lying sack. I mean, and the reason I say that is because he knows everything about these attacks. He was briefed on them. He knows that the universal background check would not have stopped a single one from happening. And I can prove it. All right, so the Virginia Tech massacre, the guy bought his guns legally from a gun store and passed federal background checks, NICS. All right, Fort Hood shooting, that was an Army officer who passed NICS and bought his guns. Gabrielle Gifford, the guy went to a gun shop the day before, passed a NICS test, was driving to the shooting, ran a red light, was stopped by a cop. Cop let him off with a warning, and then he went to the shooting, okay? So this guy passed the NICS test. The Aurora shooting, Aurora, Colorado, guy passed the NICS test, bought all his guns, passing federal background checks. The Newtown shooting, kid could have passed the NICS test, but didn't want to wait 14 days like in Connecticut. There's a 14-day waiting period. So he went and killed his mother and took her guns and did the massacre. And then the Boston Marathon bombing, that wouldn't have been helped by anything because they didn't even use guns. They used cooking equipment and hardware store supplies, so that wasn't even affected by universal background checks. So the point I'm trying to make is a very simple one. The universal background checks would not have averted any of the massacres that have taken place. Everyone who can't pass a federal background check has gone and obtained the weapons another way, or is a law-abiding citizen up until the point of the massacre and would have passed the NICS checks. So this whole universal background check is going to get rid of all these mass murders is a bunch of BS. All right, the president knows it, everyone knows it. And he basically, the problem is it isn't that they went forward and said, "We want to do a universal background check, Congress. Y'all discuss it and come up with a plan for the universal background check." No, they wanted a magazine capacity limit, they wanted an assault weapons ban, and they wanted a high-end, intense background check with firearm registration. So that was the platform. Those four things are what they asked for. And when we knocked down one after another and said, hell no to each one of those policies, they finally backed up and said, hey, go over to the Republicans, find one and build a compromise plan up. And so they built a compromise plan, which was a watered down universal background check that didn't actually do anything more than what is already in place. They said, oh, well, we're going to close the gun show loophole. Well, guess what? You have to pass a background check when you go to a gun show because those are FFL dealers at gun shows. There's only very few people who aren't FFL dealers at gun shows with a table, and they're not selling any modern firearms that I've ever seen. I suppose they could, but those guys are selling antiques and crap. The gun show loophole really means private sales. So if I go to a gun show, see a guy in a parking lot and go, hey, I want to buy that gun you have in the parking lot, and we exchange money and I buy the gun, that's what they're trying to prevent. But that has never been part of the problem with these mass shootings. This private sale stuff just hasn't happened. All these mass shooters steal their guns or buy them legally. They don't go out and they've not gone out and bought them from individuals, although they could. But again, all these people have gotten guns and they've passed the federal background checks and or stolen them, which there's no background check when you steal a gun. So again, the president is just brimming with the BS. He's being like a dad, very disappointed in his kids, and they're saying, oh, well, this is just round one. Well, it may be round one, but I kind of don't think that if they can't pass it now, I don't think they're going to have any chance of passing it until they replace a lot of people in both houses of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So again, this has been a great day for the firearms community. We have put down yet another attempt to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. Again, they wanted magazine capacity, they wanted registration, they wanted every gun sale to have a background check and be registered and a file kept on it, and they wanted assault weapons ban. Those are the four things they came out with and asked for. We knocked them all down one by one, and the last thing they came out with, they're like, oh, why won't you do this universal background check? Everybody wants it. We're like, well, you didn't ask for that. You asked for all this other crap, and then now you're just backed up and just begging for a scrap like a dog. So, no, the answer is no, we're not going to do it. If you just asked for that in the beginning, we might have listened, but we didn't because you asked for way too much and overstepped what was right, and we're trying to infringe on the Second Amendment of the United States. So, so anyway, so that's all I have to say about that. Good times, great victory. Our campaigns worked, our talking to our senators and lobbying worked. And that whole, the NRA did it thing is a bunch of BS too. He knows that the NRA, they weren't scared of the NRA's money as much as they were scared of the NRA's power to get 5 million Americans to vote against them and to work against them if they infringed on our rights. Because Bloomberg could have matched their money to offset the NRA's money. He has enough money and has a campaign capability to fight the NRA. They're even Stevens with money. What Bloomberg doesn't have is 5 million patriots behind him that can come in and say, no, we're going to help pass out flyers. We're going to go door to door. We're going to call our representatives. We're going to call people to vote for him. That's what Bloomberg can't fight. He can fight with money, and Obama can fight this with money, but they can't come up with 5 million people that the NRA has to support them and all the other pro-gun people in the United States who will band together, because this is the one issue that we will not bend on. We can compromise on almost everything else, but this is the one issue that we will not give into, because as soon as we give them an inch, they'll want to take our whole arm.
Meep, meep.